The War Council chamber was dark except for the holographic displays floating in the center. Battlemaster Theric stood tall, his scales gleaming under the blue light. Around him, 20 commanders waited in silence. They were the best killers in the galaxy. They had destroyed entire worlds. They had hunted species to extinction. They never failed. Today they received a new contract. The client offered more money than they had ever seen, enough to fund their operations for 100 years. The target was simple, a species called humans. They were new to space travel, weak, slow, no natural weapons, no thick skin, no claws or fangs. Theric laughed when he saw the data. His commanders joined him. Humans had only 12 colonies spread across 3 star systems. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were basic. They had been in space for less than 50 years. "This will take 2 weeks, Theric said. "Maybe 3 if they run and hide." The other commanders agreed. They had fought species with armor like stone. They had defeated warriors with acid blood. They had hunted creatures that could breathe fire. Humans were nothing. Just another job. Just another payday. Theric sent Huntress Vexera to scout the first target. Kepler Station, a civilian colony with 40,000 humans. Mining workers, farmers, scientists, children, no military base, no defense fleet. Perfect. Vexera moved through space like a shadow. Her ship was invisible to their sensors. She watched the humans go about their daily lives. They seemed happy, peaceful, unaware of what was coming. She smiled. The hunt always began this way, with prey that did not know it was prey. Captain Deho was drinking coffee when the alarm started. He was a merchant captain. His ship carried supplies between colonies, food, medicine, equipment, nothing exciting, nothing dangerous. He liked it that way. The alarms meant incoming ships. Deho checked his screen. 20 vessels. Military grade. Unknown signatures. His hands started shaking. This was not a trade convoy. This was not friendly. "All ships, this is Kepler Station," the radio crackled. "We are under attack. Unknown hostiles. Request immediate assistance." Deho watched through his window. The hostile ships opened fire. Bright flashes of plasma tore through the station's hull. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. People were dying. His people, his friends. He grabbed the controls. He had to get closer. He had to help. But his ship was unarmed. Just a cargo vessel. What could he do? More explosions. The station was breaking apart. Escape pods launched in every direction. Some made it. Most did not. The enemy ships hunted them down like target practice. Deho's crew was screaming at him. "We have to run! We have to go!" He could not move. He watched as boarding parties entered the station. Through the security cameras he saw them. Tall creatures, armored. Armed with weapons that cut through walls. They moved through the corridors, killing everyone. Men, women, children, everyone. 40,000 people lived on Kepler Station. In 20 minutes they were all dead. Deho's engineer grabbed his shoulder. "Captain, we need to leave now." He nodded, his ship turned away. Behind them, Kepler Station exploded into pieces. They jumped to faster than light speed. They escaped, but Deho knew the truth. They were not safe. Nobody was safe anymore. They arrived at New Haven Colony 3 days later. Deho expected a normal port. Instead, he found chaos. Ships everywhere, refugees, thousands of them. All with the same story. Attack, massacre, run. 3 more colonies were gone. 15,000 dead, 20,000. The numbers kept growing. And still, nobody knew who was attacking them or why. Lieutenant Hana was in the military intelligence office when Deho arrived. She was young but smart, very smart. She had been a soldier on Earth before joining the Colonial Defense Force. Now she studied enemy tactics, tried to predict attacks, tried to save lives. She looked at the reports. Her face was calm, but her hands were tight fists. "They are hunting us," she said. "This is not random. This is extermination." The colonial governor was an old man. He had helped build these colonies. 30 years of work. "What do we do?" he asked. "We cannot fight them. Look at the numbers." "They destroyed 3 colonies in 1 week." Hana stood up. "Then we do not fight them the normal way. We cannot win with ships and guns. We are too weak, too slow. But we can do other things." "What other things?" the governor asked. Hana smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We make them bleed, we hide. We strike when they do not expect it. We make them afraid to come after us." Deho listened from the back of the room. He thought about the 40,000 dead on Kepler Station. He thought about the families torn apart. The children who died scared. His hands stopped shaking. They became still, cold. "I am with you," he said quietly. Others in the room turned to look at him. "Whatever you need. I will help," more voices joined. Ship captains, engineers, soldiers, miners, scientists. Normal people who were not soldiers. But now they had no choice. Fight or die, those were the only options. Meanwhile, Therix was celebrating. 4 colonies destroyed. Minimal losses. The humans were running like frightened animals. Exactly as predicted. He sent more ships. More hunters. He wanted this finished quickly, Huntress Vexara reported back. "The prey is weak, scared, they will not last long," Therix agreed. "Find their leaders, kill them. The rest will surrender or scatter." Vexara prepared her next hunt. She had killed 10,000 sentient beings in her career. Humans would just be more numbers. More trophies. She did not know that these prey had teeth. She did not know they would bite back.
Nobody knew.
Not yet. In a hidden asteroid base, refugees gathered, 5,000 humans, all that remained from 6 colonies. Hana stood before them with Deho at her side. Behind them was a makeshift banner. It showed the names of the destroyed colonies. Kepler, New Perth, Franklin Station, Liberty Point, Eden Valley. "Horizon Base, they think we are weak," Hana said. Her voice was steady, strong. "They think we will die quietly. They are wrong. We are humans. We survive, we adapt, and we fight back." Deho stepped forward. "They took everything from us. Our homes, our families, our future. Now we take something from them. We take their confidence. We take their safety. We take their lives." The crowd was silent. Then one person started clapping. Then another. Then everyone. They were not soldiers, not warriors, just normal people who had lost everything. But they were still alive. And that meant they could still fight. Engineer Minji was already at work. She took mining equipment and turned it into bombs. She took construction tools and made weapons. She smiled as she worked. Not from joy, from anger, from determination. Corporal Jiwon set up a medical bay. She had been a paramedic before the war. Now she prepared for casualties. Lots of casualties. She knew what was coming: blood, pain, death, but also hope. Always hope. The war had started. The hunters thought it would be easy. They thought humans were prey, weak, helpless. They were about to learn a terrible lesson. Prey with intelligence is dangerous. Prey with nothing to lose is deadly. And humans had both. Therix would soon discover why even the greatest killers in the galaxy would learn to say no to human contracts. But that knowledge would come with a price paid in blood. The supply depot sat on the edge of the asteroid belt. It was a small base. Only 200 mercenaries stationed there. They stored weapons, food, fuel, and medical supplies, everything the Vrexian forces needed to continue their hunt. The guards were bored. They had been hunting humans for 3 weeks. It was easy work. The prey ran. The prey hid. The prey died. Nothing interesting. Nothing dangerous. Just routine extermination. At midnight, 3 humans approached the base. They wore stolen Vrexian armor. They moved carefully, quietly. The armor fit badly, but in the darkness nobody noticed. The guards waved them through. Just another patrol returning from the field. Captain Deho was one of the 3. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. Behind him came Engineer Minji and 2 other volunteers. They each carried packages, small, innocent-looking, deadly. They split up once inside. Minji went to the water recycling system. Deho headed for the weapons storage. The others moved toward the fuel depot. They had 15 minutes before the guard shift changed. 15 minutes to do maximum damage. Minji reached the water system first. She opened her package. Inside was a chemical compound, something she had made from mining supplies. It was colorless, tasteless, and very poisonous. She poured it into the main tank. It would spread through the entire base by morning. Deho found the weapons storage, rows and rows of plasma rifles, grenades, explosives. Enough firepower to destroy a city. He placed magnetic mines on the main supports. They would detonate when someone opened the security door. He set the timer and moved on. The other 2 reached the fuel depot. They planted their devices and retreated. Everything was going according to plan. Too easy, Deho thought, but he did not complain. They needed this to work. They met at the exit. 13 minutes had passed. 2 minutes to spare. They walked out calmly, casually, just another boring patrol. The guards did not even look at them twice. Once outside, they ran. Their shuttle was hidden behind a nearby rock formation. They reached it, launched, jumped to faster than light speed, gone before anyone realized what happened. Morning came to the supply depot. The mercenaries woke up. They went about their routines. Breakfast, training, equipment checks. Everything normal. Everything fine. Then the first one started coughing. Then another. Within an hour, 50 mercenaries were sick. By afternoon, they were dying. The poison worked slowly, painfully. The medical staff could not figure out what was wrong. They had no cure. They could only watch. At the same time, someone opened the weapons storage. The magnetic mines detonated. The explosion destroyed half the base. 70 mercenaries died instantly. The shockwave damaged the fuel depot. Secondary explosions followed. Fire spread everywhere. By evening, the supply depot was gone. 150 mercenaries dead. The survivors found a message written on the wall in their own blood. 3 words, simple, clear, terrifying. We remember Kepler. News of the attack reached Therix within hours. He stared at the report. This was impossible. Humans were prey. Prey did not attack. Prey did not infiltrate military bases. Prey ran and hid and died. Find who did this, he ordered. Bring me their bodies. Huntress Vexara took the assignment personally. She was the best tracker in the fleet. She had never failed a hunt. She would not start now. She studied the security footage, watched the 3 figures in stolen armor, analyzed their movements. Humans, definitely humans. She followed their trail. It led to an abandoned mining facility on a dead moon. Perfect place for an ambush. Perfect place for prey to hide. She brought 20 of her best warriors. They would flush out these humans, make examples of them. The facility was dark, empty, silent. Vexara's team moved through the corridors carefully. Their sensors showed heat signatures deeper inside, multiple targets. They advanced. Deho watched them on the security monitors. He was not in the facility. None of his people were. Just heat generators, just bait. He pressed a button on his remote control. Explosives detonated throughout the structure. Walls collapsed. Ceilings fell. The entire facility came down on top of Vexara's team. She ran, barely made it to the exit. Behind her, 19 warriors died. Crushed, buried, gone. Vexara stood outside, breathing hard. Her armor was damaged. Her pride was wounded worse. Then she heard a voice. It came from speakers hidden in the rocks. A human voice, calm, cold. You are not the hunter anymore, Captain Deho said. Now you are the prey. Run, little killer. Run back to your master. Tell him we are coming. Vexara wanted to scream, to rage. But she had no team, no backup, only her ship. She retreated. For the first time in her life, she felt fear. Meanwhile, Warlord Crixus was having his own problems. He commanded ground forces, 500 of the best soldiers in the galaxy. They were supposed to assault a human stronghold on the colony world of New Haven. Intelligence said 200 defenders. Poorly armed, poorly trained. It should be easy. Crixus landed his forces at dawn. They advanced on the target, a cluster of buildings at the edge of the settlement. Defensive walls, guard towers, primitive but functional. His soldiers surrounded it, called for surrender, received only silence. Breach the walls, Crixus ordered. His soldiers moved forward. Explosives ready. They placed charges on the main gate. Detonated them. The wall exploded inward. The soldiers rushed through the smoke. Then everything went wrong. The ground beneath their feet exploded. Mines, dozens of them. 50 soldiers died in seconds. The survivors tried to retreat, but more mines detonated. They were in a kill zone. Every step brought death. Snipers opened fire from hidden positions. Not the guard towers. Those were empty. Decoys. The real shooters were in the buildings, in the trees, underground, everywhere and nowhere. Crixus tried to organize his forces. But the humans had planned everything. Every building was rigged with explosives. When his soldiers entered, the structures collapsed on them. When they took cover behind walls, the walls exploded. When they tried to advance, sniper fire cut them down. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, Crixus had 73 soldiers left. 427 were dead. He had never seen anything like it. His warriors, legendary killers who had conquered worlds, were running in fear. running from humans. From prey, he ordered retreat. His surviving soldiers did not need to be told twice. They ran to their ships, abandoned their equipment, abandoned their wounded, just ran. Lieutenant Hana watched from a hidden bunker. She smiled. Not from joy, from satisfaction. The trap had worked perfectly. They had used the enemy's arrogance against them, made them think the target was weak, made them attack recklessly. How many did we lose? She asked. 12 dead, 20 wounded, Corporal Jiwan reported. She was already treating the injured. Her hands moved quickly, efficiently. She had seen too much death lately. She was good at keeping people alive. 12 dead for 400 enemy casualties. The math was brutal, but it was working. The humans were learning how to fight, how to survive, how to win. Back on the command ship, Therix reviewed the reports. 3 attacks in 1 week, heavy casualties, lost equipment, damaged morale. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were weak, primitive, easy targets. He called a meeting with his commanders. Vexara was there, still recovering. Crixus attended via hologram, his face showing shame and anger. What happened? Therix demanded. They are adapting, Vexara said quietly. Learning. They are not fighting like we expected. They are cowards, another commander spat. Hiding using traps. Not facing us in honest combat. Crixus laughed. It was a bitter sound. Honest combat? We are trying to exterminate them. Why would they fight fair? Silence fell over the meeting. The truth was uncomfortable. They were the hunters. The killers. The strong ones. But somehow the prey was fighting back. And winning, Therix made his decision. Double the patrols, triple the security, and send more troops. We will crush them with numbers. Overwhelm them. They cannot hide forever. But even as he gave the orders, doubt crept into his mind. What if numbers were not enough? What if the humans kept adapting? What if they were more dangerous than anyone realized? In the hidden asteroid base, engineer Minji was already working on new weapons. More traps, better explosives, smarter mines. She worked 20 hours a day, slept 4. She could sleep when this was over. If it was ever over. Daiho found her in the workshop. You need rest, he said. I need revenge, she replied without looking up. Rest comes later. After they are all dead. Daiho understood. They all felt it. The anger. The hatred. The need to make the enemy pay. They had lost too much, suffered too much. Now they would make the killers bleed. Every single one of them. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Vrexian Concordat was losing. Not just losing battles. Losing the war. Against humans. Against prey. Holographic news broadcasts showed footage from the battlefield. Destroyed Vrexian ships. Massacred mercenary units. Bodies in the darkness of space. The reporters could not believe what they were seeing. The galaxy's most feared killers were being hunted themselves. One analyst spoke on the largest news network. We must reconsider our understanding of humans. They appear to be a dormant warrior species. Perhaps their peaceful nature was just a mask. Perhaps we are seeing their true form now. Other species watched and learned. If humans could fight back against the Vrexians, what did that mean? How dangerous were these newcomers? Governments held emergency meetings. Trade agreements were reviewed. Defense budgets increased. Fear spread. The Vrexian Concordat's reputation began to crumble. They had built their power on a simple truth. They never failed. They never refused. They were unstoppable. Now that truth was broken, shattered by humans who refused to die quietly. Recruitment dropped. Young warriors who once dreamed of joining the legendary Concordat now looked elsewhere. Why join an organization that could not defeat primitives? Why risk dying at the hands of prey? Contracts were canceled. Clients who had agreements with the Concordat suddenly found reasons to back out. Legal loopholes, payment disputes, anything to avoid association with failure. Meanwhile, Captain Daiho was planning the biggest operation yet. They had intelligence about a Vrexian cruiser. Big ship, heavily armed. It carried the military database for the entire fleet. Ship movements, weapon specifications, command codes, everything. Engineer Minji studied the ship's design. It is too well defended. We cannot attack it directly. We do not attack it, Daiho replied. We steal from it. The plan was insane. A small team would board the cruiser, download the database, escape before anyone noticed. Simple in theory, impossible in practice. But they had no choice. They needed that information. Minji volunteered to lead the team. She took 4 others, all engineers, all experts at hacking and electronics. They launched in a captured Vrexian shuttle, approached the cruiser using stolen authorization codes. The cruiser's security challenged them. "State your business." "Maintenance team," Minji replied in perfect Vrexian language. She had studied their speech patterns, practiced for weeks. "We have orders to repair the secondary power grid." There was a pause. A long pause. Minji held her breath. Then the response came. "Docking Bay 3. Make it quick." They docked. Entered the ship. Split up according to plan. Minji headed for the data core. The others planted explosives throughout the ship. Not enough to destroy it. Just enough to cause chaos when they needed to escape. The data core was guarded, but not heavily. 2 soldiers. Minji and her team wore stolen uniforms. The guards barely glanced at them. Just another maintenance crew. Nothing suspicious. Minji connected her equipment to the main terminal. The download started. 20 minutes. That was how long it would take. 20 very long minutes. 15 minutes passed. Then alarms started blaring. Someone had discovered the explosives. The whole ship went on alert. Blast doors closed. Security teams mobilized. "How much longer?" one of her team asked. 3 minutes, Minji replied. Her fingers danced across the keyboard. "Keep them out." Her team barricaded the door, aimed their weapons at the entrance. They could hear soldiers approaching. Lots of soldiers. This was going to be close. Very close. The door exploded inward. Vrexian warriors rushed through. Plasma fire filled the room. 2 of Minji's team went down. The others fired back desperately, buying time. "Done!" Minji shouted. She grabbed the data drive. "Blow the charges." Explosions rocked the ship. Lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in. Chaos, perfect chaos. Minji and her surviving team members ran, back to the docking bay. Enemy fire chased them. 1 more team member fell. Minji and the last survivor reached the shuttle. Launched. The cruiser's weapons tracked them, but the explosions had damaged targeting systems. They missed. Barely. The shuttle jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, the Vrexian cruiser activated its self-destruct. The commander chose death over letting the ship fall into enemy hands. The explosion was massive, beautiful, deadly. Minji returned to the base. 3 team members dead. But she had the data. Every secret. Every weakness. Every plan. It was worth it. It had to be worth it. Lieutenant Hana studied the stolen information. Her eyes grew wide. This is everything. Ship movements. Supply routes. Command protocols. We can hit them anywhere now. But she did something else with the data. Something brilliant. Something terrible. She broadcast it. Not all of it. Just selected pieces. She sent messages to every mercenary channel in the galaxy. Showed them how vulnerable the Vrexians really were. Showed them how humans had infiltrated their most secure ship. Then she added a message of her own. Her face appeared on screens across known space. Calm, cold, determined. "My name is Lieutenant Hana. I speak for humanity. We did not start this war. But we will finish it. To the Vrexian Concordat we say this. You wanted to hunt us. Now we hunt you. To other mercenary organizations we say this. Learn from their mistake. Humanity does not forgive. We do not forget. And we are coming." The message went viral. Within hours, every species in the galaxy had seen it. The psychological impact was devastating. Humans were no longer victims. They were threats. Dangerous threats. Mercenary desertion rates skyrocketed. Warriors who had fought for decades suddenly decided to retire. Others transferred to different organizations. Nobody wanted to fight humans. The risk was too high. The reward not worth it. Therix watched the broadcast 17 times. Each time his anger grew, but so did his worry. He was losing control. His forces were demoralized. His reputation destroyed. And the humans kept getting stronger. He called another meeting. This time, several commanders did not attend. They sent excuses, illness, equipment failures, lies. They were afraid. His own officers were afraid. Warlord Crixus spoke up. "We should withdraw. Cancel the contract. This is not worth it." "We never cancel contracts," Therix snarled. "That is our code. Our law." "Then the code will destroy us," Crixus replied quietly. "I have fought for 200 years. I have conquered worlds. I have killed thousands. But these humans are different. They do not fight to win. They fight so we lose. And it is working. Other commanders nodded. Agreement spread through the room, but Therix refused to see it. He refused to accept defeat. We will increase our forces. Deploy everything. Overwhelming power. That is how we win. But even as he gave the orders, he knew the truth. They were losing. Not just the battles. The war itself. And it was only going to get worse. Captain Deho gathered his team. They had the enemy database. They had momentum. They had hope. Next phase, he said. We stop defending. We start attacking. Hit their bases. Destroy their supplies. Make them afraid to leave their ships. Corporal G1 raised her hand. What about prisoners? Do we take any? The room went quiet. It was a good question. A hard question. They were not monsters. They did not want to become monsters. But they also remembered what the enemy had done. The massacres. The children. The innocents. We offer surrender once, Deho finally said. If they refuse, no mercy. We cannot afford mercy. Not yet, nobody argued. They understood. This was survival. This was war. This was necessary. But Jiwan saw the look in their eyes. They were changing. Becoming harder. Colder. More like the enemy they fought. She wondered if they would ever be able to go back. To be normal again. To be peaceful. Or had the war changed them forever? Made them into something they never wanted to be? Across the galaxy, in dark corners and hidden places, mercenaries whispered. They told stories. Stories about the human war. About the prey that fought back. About the hunters who became hunted. One old mercenary, scarred and tired, warned the younger ones. You see a human contract, you walk away. You run, it does not matter what they pay. It is not worth it. Nothing is worth facing them. I was there. I saw what they can do, trust me. Even killers know when to say no. And slowly across the entire galaxy a new rule emerged. An unwritten rule. An unbreakable rule. Do not hunt humans. Do not attack humans. Do not even threaten humans. The price was too high. The cost too great. Humanity had earned something they never wanted. Something terrible and powerful. They had earned fear, and that fear would change everything. Battlemaster Therix stood before his remaining fleet. Once he commanded 300 ships. Now only 97 remained. The rest were destroyed, captured or abandoned by crews who refused to fight anymore. He had one option left. Totalva, complete extermination. No more careful hunting. No more strategic strikes. Just overwhelming destructive power. Burn everything. Leave nothing alive. Deploy the planet crackers, he ordered. Deploy the virus bombs. Use everything. I want every human colony turned to ash. His officers hesitated. Planet crackers were forbidden weapons in most of the galaxy. Weapons that broke worlds, destroyed atmospheres, made planets uninhabitable for centuries. Using them would mark the Concordat as war criminals. But Therix did not care anymore. His reputation was already ruined. His organization was falling apart. At least he could finish the job. At least he could complete one last contract. He broadcast a message to all human colonies. His face appeared on their screens. Old, tired, angry. You have 1 hour to surrender. Unconditional surrender. I will offer quick deaths instead of slow ones. That is all, 1 hour. Then we destroy everything. The humans received his message. They discussed. They debated. Then Captain Deho sent a reply. Just 3 words, come and try. The hour passed. No surrender came. Therix gave the order. His fleet advanced. Weapon systems charged. This would be the end. One way or another. But the humans were ready. They had used the stolen database well. They knew where every ship would be. They knew every weakness. Every blind spot. Every vulnerability. Human ships emerged from hiding. Not the cargo vessels and mining craft they started with. These were different. Built from salvaged parts. Upgraded with stolen technology. Armed with improvised weapons that should not work but did. Engineer Minji had designed most of them. She called them the Ghost Fleet. Small ships, fast ships, cheap ships that could be lost without too much pain. But there were hundreds of them. And they fought like demons. The battle began. The Vrexian battlecruisers were massive, powerful, well-armored. But the human fighters swarmed them like insects. Dozens attacking each ship. Overwhelming point defense systems. Targeting weak spots. Some human ships rammed the enemy. Deliberate kamikaze attacks. Their pilots knew they were going to die. They did not care. They just wanted to take enemies with them. And they did. Deho commanded from a rebuilt destroyer. His ship was a patchwork of different parts. Human hull, Vrexian engines, salvaged weapons from 3 different species. It should not fly. But it did. And it fought. Target their command ship, he ordered. All fighters. All weapons. Everything we have. The Ghost Fleet converged on Therix's flagship. Plasma fire lit up space. Explosions bloomed like flowers. 3 Vrexian battlecruisers moved to protect their commander. Too late. The humans broke through. On the ground, another battle raged. Warlord Crixus led one final assault. Not because he wanted to. Because Therix ordered him to. Because he had no choice. But his heart was not in it anymore. His soldiers advanced carefully. They had learned. No more rushing in. No more underestimating the enemy. Every step was checked. Every corner cleared. Every shadow investigated, but it did not matter. The humans had prepared for months. Every street was a trap. Every building a fortress. Every civilian a potential threat. The soldiers were fighting ghosts. Enemies they could not see, could not predict, could not defeat. Crixus watched his forces die. Slowly, methodically. The humans were not even fighting aggressively. They were just defending. Just surviving. But somehow that was enough. He made a decision. The hardest decision of his life. He opened a communication channel. Not to his troops. To the other mercenary organizations. To anyone who would listen. This is Warlord Crixus of the Vrexian Concordat. I am sending this message to warn you. Do not accept contracts against humans. They are not what they seem. They are not weak. They are not prey. They are apex predators hiding behind a peaceful face. We tried to hunt them. We failed. Learn from our mistake. Do not make the same error. The message was treason. Broadcasting it meant death. But Crixus did not care. He had seen too much. Lost too much. He wanted others to know. To understand. To avoid this nightmare. Therix heard the broadcast. Rage filled him. He sent orders to execute Crixus for treason, but the orders never arrived. Communication systems were down. Damaged by human hackers, Crixus retreated with his surviving forces. Disappeared into the galaxy. Gone. In space, the battle reached its climax. Therix's flagship was crippled. Engines dead. Shields failing. Human ships surrounded it like wolves around wounded prey. Deho received a priority transmission. Medical teams had found something. A secret Vrexian facility. Hidden, classified, where they took human prisoners. Corporal Jiwan led the rescue team. They breached the facility. Found the prisoners. What they saw made them sick. The Vrexians had been experimenting on humans. Testing, torturing, learning about human biology the cruelest way possible. Jiwan wanted to cry. To scream. But she held it together. She had a job to do. She freed the prisoners. 27 survivors. Barely alive. Broken in body but not in spirit. The rescue team executed every Vrexian in the facility. No trials, no mercy. Just justice, cold, final, absolute. They broadcast the footage. Showed the galaxy what the Vrexians had done. The experiments. The torture. The horror. Public opinion shifted completely. Even species that feared humans now understood. This was not unprovoked violence. This was righteous fury. Back in space, Huntress Vixara made one final attempt. She had been hunting Captain Deho for months. Obsessed with him. Determined to restore her honor. To prove she was still the best, she tracked him to a dying colony world. The last place they would fight. She found him in the ruins of a settlement alone, or so she thought. Finally, she hissed. Face me, no tricks. No traps, just us. Deho turned to face her. He looked tired, so tired. But his eyes were hard. You want to fight? Fine, let us finish this, they fought. Hand to hand. Blade to blade. Vixara was faster, stronger, better trained. She should have won easily. But Deho had something she did not. Desperation, determination, the memory of 40,000 dead. The fight was brutal. Both took wounds, both bled. But slowly, Deho gained the advantage. Not through skill. Through sheer refusal to quit. He would not fall. Would not stop. Would not lose. Vixara realized too late what was happening. She was not fighting a merchant captain anymore. She was fighting something that had evolved beyond that, a survivor. A warrior, a killer. Deho saw his opening, pressed a button on his wrist device. Explosives hidden in the building detonated. The structure collapsed. Tons of metal and stone fell. Vexara tried to escape, failed. Deho barely made it out. Broken ribs, bleeding. But alive, he stood over the rubble. Vexara was somewhere under there, dead. Finally dead. He felt nothing. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just emptiness. He had become what he needed to become. But the cost was high. So very high. In space, the battle ended. 3 Vrexian capital ships destroyed. Dozens of smaller vessels captured or disabled. The remaining enemy fleet retreated. Ran. Fled like the prey they once hunted. Therex sat in his crippled flagship. Casualty reports surrounded him. 70% of his forces gone, his reputation destroyed, his organization bankrupt. Everything he had built, everything he had achieved, lost. He sent one final transmission, galaxy-wide, for everyone to hear. The contract on humanity is suspended, canceled, void. Any mercenary who pursues them does so against our recommendation, against all wisdom. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. We thought they were prey. We were wrong. So very wrong. The transmission ended. Silence filled the galaxy. The Vrexian Concordat, the most feared mercenary organization in known space, had done the impossible. They had refused a contract. They had admitted defeat. They had said no. Lieutenant Hana listened to the broadcast. She smiled. Not from joy, from relief. It was over. The war was over. They had won. Humans had survived. Against all odds. Against all predictions. They had survived, but the cost. The cost was almost too much to bear. So many dead. So many changed. So much lost. Victory tasted like ashes, like blood, like tears. The war was over, but the consequences were just beginning. Fatal sentence: the war was over. The shooting had stopped, but the silence was almost worse than the noise. Captain Deho walked through the ruins of New Haven Colony. Buildings destroyed. Streets cracked. Memorial markers everywhere. Each marker bore names, sometimes just one. Sometimes dozens, families, friends, neighbors, all gone, all dead. The colony once held 50,000 people. Now barely 10,000 remained. Deho stopped at one wall. The wall of memory, they called it. Every name of every person lost in the war. Millions of names. Billions would be more accurate if they counted all the colonies. All the ships. All the stations. He found his original crew. 23 names. People he had worked with for years. People who laughed and joked and dreamed of the future. Gone in the first attack. Dead before they knew what was happening. Lieutenant Hana joined him. She looked different now. Older, harder. The war had changed everyone. Some changes showed on the outside. Most happened inside, in places nobody could see. Ambassadors are arriving, she said quietly. From 17 different species. They all want to negotiate. Negotiate what? Deho asked. The war is over. Trade agreements. Defense pacts. Technology exchanges. They are scared. They want to make sure we are friends, not enemies. Deho almost laughed. Almost. The same species that ignored humanity's cries for help now wanted friendship. The same governments that did nothing while colonies burned now offered support. Fear was a powerful motivator. The first ambassador meeting took place in a temporary structure. The building was basic, functional, not impressive. But the ambassadors did not complain. They were too worried about offending their hosts. 17 ambassadors. 17 species, all powerful, all influential, all afraid. They offered technology, resources, military support, anything humanity wanted. Just please do not be enemies. Hana represented humanity in the negotiations. She listened to each offer, considered each proposal. Then she spoke. We accept your offers, but we have conditions. First, you will help us rebuild, not with money, with actual work. Second, you will share technology freely. No secrets. No restrictions. Third, you will help us create a defense network, not just for us, for any species facing extinction. The ambassadors agreed immediately, too quickly. They would have agreed to almost anything. The reputation humanity earned was too frightening. Better to have humans as allies than enemies. Meanwhile, Battlemaster Therex faced his own reckoning. Bounty hunters found him hiding on a remote station. They brought him to human authorities. Not for revenge, for justice. The trial was public, broadcast across the galaxy. Theric stood accused of crimes against sentient life, genocide, war crimes, torture. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. Deho attended the trial. He sat in the back, silent, watching. Theric looked small now, old, broken, not the terrifying warlord anymore. Just a tired old killer facing the consequences of his actions. When asked for his testimony, Deho stood, walked to the witness stand, looked Theric in the eye. "You wanted to hunt us," Deho said. His voice was calm, steady. "You thought we were weak, easy prey. You were wrong. Now you know. Now the whole galaxy knows. Humans are not prey. We never were. We were just peaceful." "There is a difference." Theric said nothing. What could he say? The truth was obvious. He had failed. Completely. Catastrophically. The verdict came quickly. Guilty. Sentence. Life imprisonment on a secure facility. He would live. But he would never be free. Never forget what he had awakened. Engineer Minji returned to what she did best. Building. Creating. But not weapons anymore. She helped design new colonies. Better defenses. Safer homes. She shared her knowledge with other species. Taught them how to protect themselves. A young alien engineer approached her once. Asked why she helped former enemies. Why she gave away secrets for free. Minji smiled. A real smile this time. Because knowledge prevents genocide. Because teaching costs nothing but saves everything. Because I remember what it felt like to be helpless. Nobody should feel that way. She became famous. Not as a weapons designer. As a teacher. A builder. A symbol of humanity's better nature. The part that survived the war intact. Corporal G1 opened medical facilities across human space. Trauma centers. Therapy clinics. Places where survivors could heal. Not just their bodies. Their minds. Their spirits. She worked 18 hours a day, treating patients, training staff. Never stopping. Never resting. People worried about her, told her to slow down, take breaks, but G1 could not stop. Every person she saved felt like redemption. Every smile she restored felt like victory. She had seen too much death. Now she needed to preserve life. As much as possible. For as long as possible. One day, a young patient asked her a question. "Why do you work so hard?" "The war is over." Juwan paused, thought carefully. The shooting stopped. But the war is not over. Not inside us. We all carry it. Every day. Every night. Working helps. Healing helps. Maybe someday the war will truly end. Until then, I keep working. Lieutenant Hana established the Human Intelligence Network. A galaxy-wide system monitoring threats. Gathering information. Ensuring humanity would never be surprised again. Never be unprepared again. She recruited agents from dozens of species. Built relationships. Created networks. Some called her paranoid. She called herself careful. The difference mattered. Her work prevented 3 wars before they started. Stopped 2 genocides. Saved countless lives. But she never felt proud. Just relieved. Just grateful. Just determined to never let it happen again. Deho became chief military strategist for all human forces. He did not want the job. But nobody else could do it. He understood war in ways others could not. He had lived it. Breathed it. Become it, he designed the new fleet. Built defense networks. Trained soldiers. Made sure humanity could defend itself. Forever against anyone. But at night he dreamed. Always the same dream. Kepler station burning. 40,000 voices screaming. He woke up sweating, shaking, remembering. One evening, Hana found him standing outside, looking at the stars. "Cannot sleep?" she asked. "Never really can," he admitted. "Too many ghosts. Too many memories. Was it worth it?" she asked. The question haunted them all. Everything we did, everything we became, was it worth it? Deho was quiet for a long time. Then he answered, "We survived. That has to be enough. We survived and made sure our children will not face what we faced. Yes, it was worth it." They stood together in silence. 2 survivors. 2 warriors. 2 people who gave everything so others could live. Above them, the new fleet orbited. Sleek warships bearing the names of lost colonies, Kepler, New Perth, Franklin, Liberty, Eden, Horizon. Each ship a memorial. Each ship a promise. Never again. In a dark cantina on a distant world, mercenaries gathered. They told stories. War stories. Most were lies, exaggerations. But one story was always told truthfully. The story of the human war. An old mercenary, scarred and missing an eye, spoke to the younger ones. I was there. I saw them fight. They are not like other species. They do not fight for glory. They fight for survival. And when humans fight for survival, nothing stops them. Nothing. What should we do if we get a human contract? A young warrior asked. The old mercenary laughed. Dark, bitter. You say no. You always say no. Even killers have limits. Even killers know fear. Humans taught us that. They taught the whole galaxy that some prey should never be cornered. Some species should never be threatened. Humans are both. Across the galaxy, a new understanding emerged. Written in blood. Learned through pain. Remembered forever. Humanity was dangerous. Not because they were violent, but because they would do anything to survive. Absolutely anything, and the galaxy respected that. Feared that. Honored that. The Rexian Concordat collapsed completely. Other mercenary organizations absorbed the remains. But they all learned the lesson. They all remembered the price of failure.
They all knew the one rule that could never be broken. Do not hunt humans. Years passed.
Colonies were rebuilt. Children were born who never knew the war. Life continued. Humanity moved forward. Slowly, carefully, but forward. Captain Deho stood in a rebuilt colony, watching children play in a park, safe, happy, free. He felt a hand on his shoulder. Jiwan stood beside him. They will never know, she said softly. They will never understand what it cost. What we did. What we became. Good, Deho replied. That means we succeeded. That means they get to be innocent, to be peaceful, to be what we used to be. That is the whole point. They watched the children for a while longer. Then they left. Work waited. Always work. Defending, protecting, ensuring the sacrifice meant something. Humanity earned a reputation that day. A reputation that would last forever. They were the species that turned the hunters into prey. The species that made even the deadliest killers refuse contracts. The species that survived the unsurvivable. Even the killers said no. Even the monsters stepped back. Even the galaxy's most feared warriors learned caution. Because targeting humans was a fatal sentence. Not just for the victims. For the hunters themselves, the war was over. But the legend had just begun.